Swann, Wolfpack Nation. Welcome back for part 2 here of our NC State Clemson breakdown, baby, with Clemson Sports crew. Got Lawton Swann here again. Make sure, again, if you haven't already, again, make sure to check out part 1. That is a must do, as, again, you kind of see what we talked about heading up to this point, talking about the Clemson Wake Forest game, talking about DJ, what we can expect from him here this Saturday. But, Lawton, so let me ask you kind of a plain question. So, because I know for us as NC State fans, I could tell you kind of what this game means for us. But, obviously Clemson's had a lot of, obviously great moments, obviously winning 2 national championships, winning multiple ACC championships over the years. So how big of a game would you say this is from the Clemson side?
I mean, it's top 10 matchup. Like they don't get any bigger than that in the regular season. I mean, honestly, maybe 1-2. Clemson. Listen, they don't see NC State any different than they saw Louisiana Tech, any different than they saw Furman, and that's how you build consistency, right? Like you can't look at this game and think, oh my goodness, we just gotta, this is it, and we got to pour it all into this game, and then we don't have to worry about anything else. Every week you're going to get the best, right? And so that's kind of where Clemson sees it. Now, for me, I'm an old textile guy. So this is the old textile bowl for me. So, I spent many Saturdays up in Raleigh at Carter Finley Stadium, tailgating with the textile crew up there at NC State. So I know all about that, man. If we need to talk about some 2-2-12s, we can on the program, if that's what we need to get into. But I just, Clemson, look, to me in the Atlantic Coast Conference, right, prior to Florida State coming in, prior to Maryland leaving, NC State, in my opinion, would be Clemson's top rival. Like that would be it. Florida State came in, started running the league, and that kind of became Clemson's main rival because that's who Clemson wanted to be. All the ACC championships that the Tigers have through the years, that's who they wanted to be. And so Florida State sort of took that role, and Maryland left to go to the Big Ten. But for me, like when they came out with the new schedule, they said, well, who do you want, man? I said, all right, they got to play NC State, they got to play Georgia Tech, and they got to play Florida State. Anybody else in the league, I don't care if you ever play them again. But those three, we got to play. And so, I think that it's an important matchup for everybody. I think that, Clemson fans still remember those days when it was put on as the Textile Bowl. And there were times, man, listen, I felt like Jamie Barnett quarterbacked at NC State for 35 years. Like that dude drove me insane when I was in college. And so to me, it's still a great rivalry. Obviously, Duke and North Carolina have their thing in basketball. And I think for Clemson and NC State fans for a while, they were kind of 2 of the teams in this league that were really investing in football. And so, to me, that's why it's one of my favorites. And I don't think, Clemson sees it any different, but a top 10 matchup between these 2 teams. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
So you said in part 1, talking about how this is like the moment to like see how what Devin Leary's made of. And I agree completely, but you can tell throughout the games that State's played that the playbook has opened up a little more each game. And I think that we finally got to see the throws that we wanted to see last night, even though it was against, obviously not a Clemson team. So do you think, is that the same side for Clemson? Like, are y'all opening y'all's playbook up a little bit more every game, do you feel? Or do y'all have everything out on the field for each game?
Yeah, it's funny because I asked Tommy Bowden, who coached at Clemson. He comes on my show every Friday. And so the previous head coach, the guy that hired Dabo, the guy that brought Dabo Swinney to Clemson, I asked him that same question, Mackenzie. I said, Coach, can I ask you something? Do you guys hold things back in your playbook? Like when you're playing against a team that you're going to beat, do you hold things back? He said, heck no. Nobody holds anything back. He said, you have your plan and your scheme and your objectives, and you kind of go with that. But as far as because to us on this side, we think I wouldn't want to show on my hand. I wouldn't want to show on my cards. I would, if I'm playing Furman, I'm going to throttle it back. Why do I want to show NC State everything that I've got in the holster? Tommy Bowden has no reason to say to me that, no, teams don't do that. And so my only answer is I don't think anybody's held anything back. according to a guy that did it at the highest level and got paid handsomely to do it and to leave, mind you, and he'll tell you, he says no. Coaches don't hold things back. So I'm just assuming, whatever we've seen from the playbook standpoint from NC State and from Clemson just dealt with matchups and where they thought they had an advantage, and not so much, well, let's don't show this because NC State might, see something on tape. Now, there's probably a trick play or two that all these guys have, right? They've got their 2-point conversion that you haven't seen. They've got, your fake field goal that you haven't seen. But as far as just the standard offense, I think we've probably seen most of it.
We saw ours last night. It didn't really work out too well.
Yeah. Well, but it's funny though, because in the post game, actually Coach Doran even said that he wanted to basically put it on film, for opponents to see. So again, it is a chess match. That's the thing, which, a lot of fans got to keep in mind, is that football is 1000% a chess match. The entire season is one big chess match. You're just like you said, it's like, at the end of the day, you can't look too far ahead, because then you got to take care of business right now. But at the end of the day, you also know what's going to come down the line, because you have the schedule right in front of you. And so at the end of the day, for reasons that we as fans don't understand, there's a reason why Coach Doran last night decided, I want to run a fake field goal last night with Chris Dunn. Now, we don't know necessarily why that is or why he decided to do that, but he has his reasons. And at the end of the day, again, we were 10 years ago, we were, a 3-9 team and had, and to no disrespect of the players on that team, but just not really much talent to really talk about. And then back in 2019, we also went 3-9 again, with, basically a handful of quarterbacks. So at the end of the day, got to give Coach Doran, respect and trust his decisions up until this point, because he got us here. At the end of the day, we're sitting here in the top 10 with the opportunity in College game day to go face a Clemson team and have an opportunity to put ourselves in the driver's seat of the Atlantic Division. So again, that's why, and that's why I asked you at the beginning, like, how big of a game is it for Clemson fans? Because I can guarantee you that as big as it is for the biggest Clemson fan out there, it's 10 times bigger for every state fan. Yeah, it's just this is a huge moment, just because obviously for Clemson wise, it's not going to affect anything from a like there's not like there's a single Clemson fan out there that if Clemson loses this game, it's going to be like, Dabo stinks. You need to fire him. You need to move on from Dabo. Like, no, you're not going to think that whatsoever. But for NC State side, it's like, this is what Dorans has built up to, is to this point. He came in saying 1 pack, 1 goal, which is United Michigan win championship. So, and it's something we haven't had in well over 40 years, for NC State. So for us, it's like,
and I think
we got like, if we want to get to that point, which this team can get there, we got to get by this 1 point. Now, the question which I do want to ask you is, I know you probably watched the documentary by the ACC network about NC State during the preseason, heading up until a couple of weeks, before the season started. So I know you've seen that one clip of Isaiah Moore and Peyton Wilson sitting there saying, Clemson thinks they got the best defense in the country, and both of them like, okay. So, and I know there was a lot of, players even that quote tweeted it. And to me, that's what honestly, that makes me excited. The fact that, Clemson's like, okay. And NC State, players were like, okay. So to me, I think that clip will be a big reason why, even more, that you'll see two teams put it all out on the line on Saturday. So what were your kind of thoughts when you originally saw that clip?
It's look, if you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in you?
Amen.
If you
Amen.
Go out there, I didn't play college football, but I can tell you when I did play football, I never played any sport where I walked out there and thought, boy, I'm about to get crushed. Now, there was probably a moment in the first half of some games where I looked around and went, well, we're getting crushed. But,
sure.
Until it happened, right? Like everybody's, you got to have that determination. I thought, it's two guys that, that play it's a good defense. Don't get me wrong. It might be, like I said, it might be the best defense in the Atlantic Coast Conference. It might be certainly the best defense that Clemson faces in the ACC this year. So it'll be a test for Clemson. But this is a Tiger team that, if you look at statistically over the last 7 years or so in college football, has been one of the best bar none. And that's including Alabama. I mean, it's like Clemson and Georgia and one other team that's maybe Ohio State, and so it's tough to be that consistent. And so, if the NC State guys think that they're the best defense in the country, they can roll in Death Valley and prove it on Saturday night. But I don't blame them for believing it. I would too. I mean, you got to believe in yourself.
I think that that's bulletin board material for Clemson. I feel like our bulletin board material goes all the way back to 2016. I think that Dave Doran still has that chip on his shoulder. And I think that plus the top 10 matchup, College Game Day, but I think he's just like, look. Because I know State fans, we still have nightmares about that 2016 game. So I know that that's probably our bulletin board material going into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, look, anytime. So for Clemson, the kind of the counter would be what it felt like when you finally got past Florida State. Because, every time you just somehow, Bobby Bowden somehow would find a way, somehow Jimbo Fisher. I mean, Clemson in 2014 starts Cole Stout at quarterback. They got Deshaun Watson. He's a freshman. Cole misses a guy wide open in the end zone. Finally, Dabo Swinney. That was the last straw. That was when Dabo switched to Deshaun Watson. And Clemson would have won that game had Cole Stout just completed that pass. Nonetheless, Clemson's at the goal line. They got a freshman quarterback, and they line him up in shotgun because that's what he's accustomed to, and that's what he's practiced. He hadn't gone under center, and Clemson snaps it over his head, and they end up losing that game. That's one of the 3 losses in 2014. And so it's kind of like that. So like every time you think, okay, this is the one, you don't get it done. And NC State got it done a year ago and then ultimately didn't finish the job and couldn't win the division. So, and Clemson had those moments too, right? Where they beat Florida State and then couldn't win the league. So it resonates a lot more with NC State because you guys hold on to that moment a lot more than the winner, right? I can tell you the losses are much more painful and they linger a lot longer. So I think that's an advantage for NC State outside of they beat this Clemson team a year ago.
Yeah.
And Clemson knows what that felt like a season ago. And believe me, that's been in their minds as much as anything going into this game is retribution for what happened in Raleigh.
Well, and that's why, like, for me, like, everybody was talking, we were kind of looking at the Clemson-Wake Forest game. Everybody was saying, well, if Wake Forest wins this game, Clemson's going to NC State game pissed off. I'm like, they're going to go in pissed off anyway. Like, it's a big game. I mean, we're probably, we ended up being a top 10 team. And, at the end of the day, it's like, we beat them last year, but also too, I mean, we have our reasons as well. Like, that's why to me, like yesterday, more of what I was happy to see was, obviously a game that kind of, forced Clemson to push itself all the way, not only through 60 minutes, but even through 2 overtimes as well to get it done. While on our side, we're able to basically just take care of Memphis, take care of UConn, and then move on and overall stay very healthy for the most part. So, but yeah, that's why to me, it was like, it doesn't matter. This game is not going to change how much more emotion is going to be put into next Saturday than if they would have won or lost that game either way. So that was kind of my 2 thoughts on that, but now one thing, go ahead.
Most of these guys probably after the game went out to a club for 2 hours and danced all night long. So, they're 18 to 22-year-old. They act like a bunch of old men. Now my back will be hurting tomorrow from doing this interview, but come on, give me a break, guys.
Absolutely.
A question that I've been wondering with the hurricane news coming in, how do you think that affects the game? Do you think that means Clemson will have more of a advantage, State will have more of an advantage? Because obviously everybody knows both of our defenses are stout. I think State is a little bit better of a defense, in my personal opinion, but
not biased.
Right? No, I'm not. But, I was wondering, like, do you feel Clemson? Because obviously Will Shipley is a star. I mean, that's just. But as in, like, Demi Sumo, freshman, Jordan Houston, like, who do you think has that advantage, if there is one, with the hurricane coming through?
It's so tricky. I mean, Clemson has the fortune, and none of these guys were on the team, but, that Notre Dame game, back when we had that huge storm and all the flooding and all that stuff in 2015 was kind of similar. Game day was there. It was Deshaun Watson versus Deshaun Kaiser, and it poured all day long. And it just kind of was a sloppy game. Clemson got out to a big lead. Notre Dame fought back, and Clemson stopped a 2-point conversion to win it. I tend to feel like it favors when you can throw the ball, when it's just not a torrential downpour. Remind me now, because I might have the wrong team, but I thought NC State maybe 3 or 4 years ago played in a game where there was just so much rain you couldn't even see the field, right? Yeah, okay. And so it can get to the point where it's almost impossible to throw the football. And so if we don't cross over into that realm, then I think it favors either offense, honestly, because the wideouts know where they're going and the defenders have to react. And when you have to react, if your weight gets a bit shifted the wrong way, you're dead in the water, literally. Yeah. And so, I don't know who it would favor per se, but if it's just a sloppy, ugly ground game, I mean, Clemson's defensive line, they got about 7 guys, and 6 of them will probably be playing in the NFL. I think it would be tough to run the football all day. If Clemson knew you couldn't throw the ball, it would be tough. Now, the question could become in that scenario, okay, and this would be something that Clemson doesn't scheme for right now, but do you go to a situation where you make DJ a runner and have that extra hat in the box? Because I don't think Devin Leary would be as suited for that type of thing to give you just that extra guy, would that be a big advantage for Clemson? I think it's kind of an unknown at this point, but I'm hopeful that we'll have rain, but it won't be ruin the game kind of rain.
Yeah.
Right.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Well, and obviously for us, I mean, we faced a Texas Tech defense that beat Texas yesterday, and they obviously have a dual threat quarterback, that was playing for them, as well as solid run game as well. We shut them down, from a run game perspective. Everything they got on us was from throwing the ball. So I mean, to me, it's kind of funny because if it does rain as much as it could from a hurricane game, to me, it's like you throw any analysis out the window. You throw any stats. You throw any thoughts. Who the heck knows who's going to win that game? And whoever does, there's not going to be a single person saying, I knew we would win that game. There is nobody on this earth that would know we're going to win this game because of if it's a rain game like that. And honestly, too, because you kind of mentioned as well, that if it does, again, get to a point where you have to run the ball, you can't throw the ball, you're not going to see Leary in the backfield. I almost would bet my bottom dollar that you got to put Jack Chambers in there, who is much more the dual threat quarterback. He's a guy that's experienced, has taken a lot of snaps during his time at Georgia Southern. And he's a guy that can run the ball. So, to me, it's kind of crazy to think about. It's like, man, this game could be a huge one of Devin Leary versus DJ, and nighttime, a beautiful night, college game day, and Lee Corso there. But then the other side could be a total washout, and just like Jack Chambers starting at quarterback and DJ literally running 30 times. That's
don't fumble the football. Right?
Don't fumble the football. Exactly.
Please don't fumble.
Yeah. Final score might be 2-0, and I would not be surprised one bit. And seriously. So, but again, that's why I'm hoping. I want to see a great game. I do. I mean, I know myself and some of the other Tuffy Talk crew, we're going to make our way down there for sure. Enjoy it. So that's why, I mean, if I'm going to be down there, if I'm going to drive all that way, I want to make sure I see a great game. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll take a win, if it's a win, but at the end of the day, I mean, I just want to see a great game as well. And I think it'll be everything and then some. So, wanted to kind of touch, on Will Shipley before we kind of get into our predictions here. But, obviously Will Shipley is a guy that both of his parents, went to both of his parents went to NC State,
Right.
and so, obviously losing him was definitely, a stinger for sure. But, at the end of the day, everybody just got to keep in mind. Then when he made that decision, he was a 17, 18-year-old kid, just trying to make the best decision for himself for his future. And so, at the end of the day, he made his decision, and, can't blame him. It is what it is. Now, obviously, from our end, we have a young guy in Demi Sumo that's been really good so far, that we see a lot of potential in. But, we know that for sure from watching Will Shipley, he is a star, and we knew that. That's why we were going so hard after him. But where would you kind of see him in terms of some of the all-time greats that Clemson's had, in terms of, obviously, last year, a couple years ago, having Travis Etienne, Wayne Gallman, where would you kind of see him potentially being when his time is all said and done at Clemson?
Yeah, it's still so early, and he was injured a good bit last year. And so I think statistically his numbers are a little under the radar for that.
Yeah.
I was surprised. He got run down yesterday, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think he'd get run down from behind. On the first play, busted for 53 yards and then got tracked down by a high school teammate, mind you.
Oh, cool.
At Wake Forest. But
he barely caught him.
Yeah, do I – yeah, he's not in the top 10. He's not in the top 10.
Sure.
He probably has the skill set to climb into the top 5. But you got, like you said, Travis Etienne, Wayne Gallman, CJ Spiller. There have been so many, Andre Ellington. There have been so many great running backs. I think he's got top 5 potential, especially catching the ball in the backfield. I think that he's as versatile. He's the most versatile running back Clemson's had since CJ Spiller in that regard. Right. I know people wanted to compare him to Christian McCaffrey coming out of high school because he's a white guy playing running back, and that's completely unfair. Christian McCaffrey's like a unicorn.
Yeah.
But they do an injured unicorn, quite a bit. But yeah, right. But I think he has that kind of ability, and you still see it. Now, what he has that Travis Etienne had, that Wayne Gallman had, that CJ Spiller had, that not every running back has, relentless pursuit. You saw it yesterday on that touchdown run. Like, initially, I thought a lineman pushed him into the end zone. I thought, man, good on that lineman getting down there and pushing him in. Oh, no. Like you said earlier, that was just Will willing his way into the end zone and fighting for every inch of the field.
He shouldn't have made it.
Yeah. That's what you want to see, right? That's what, like, as a father, that's what I'm trying to teach my daughter when she's playing soccer. Like, that is the type of effort that I need to see from you. Not all the time, but at times in the game, that's the effort you have to play with.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, no. And the one kind of side question I want to ask you was, does it kind of intrigue you at all seeing him on the kick return side at all? Or do you feel like it's just because, just like you said, he's the most versatile weapon that Clemson has. So, he's the best option that we can have from a kick return side.
Yeah, they used to put Travis Etienne back there. And, a lot of teams are like, whoa, why are you putting your best running back back there to return kicks? Because it can be such a tough spot for him. But, yeah, I think they really feel comfortable with him, first holding on to the football. And two, they know that, if he makes one man miss, he can break one for 50, 60, 70 yards. So, yeah, it's a little surprising, but it's something that I would say people that cover Clemson have kind of gotten used to it. And you don't see it around the country all that often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So with that being said, we kind of reached the point here where we kind of talk a little bit about predictions for this game. Now, again, this is all absolutely probably the biggest asterisk that you'll ever see, because obviously we're recording this on Sunday, September 25th. We don't know what's going to happen with this hurricane, but obviously, so basically what I'm saying is that you could see a realm of predictions here depending on what happens with that hurricane. But we're basically going to predict as if, it's a beautiful night for college football, college game day, prime time on ABC, and we'll go from there. So instead of kind of starting you off being the first one, because I definitely predict kind of where this is going to go in terms of who everybody's going to predict to win, which, rightfully so. Again, I mean, it's two great teams playing football, that I think both have a lot of possibilities to win. So, not necessarily going to see a lot of shockers here, but Kenzie, since we definitely 100,000% know where you're going to go, let's go ahead and get you first. Let's go and get your prediction out of the way. Let's go for it.
We can't be ourselves. That's all I'm worried about. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I think the score, honestly, don't even care. I just want to win. 24-21 State. I think Chris Dunn's going to redeem us from 2016. I think we're going to leave happy, and then now Clemson fans get to experience that pain for a couple of years. It's only fair. It's y'all's turn.
Well, and I can respect that score too. Again, I truly do think it's going to be it's not going to be a shootout in my opinion. So, Michael, what you got, man?
Yeah, I'm right around the similar score. I think it'll be a low scoring game. I think the key really is how well can NC State run the ball versus Clemson, because that's obviously Clemson's strength. So if we can get any type of run game going, I think that bodes well for us. But if that gets shut down, then it'll be tough to get in the end zone. I don't know. I'm gonna go right around Kenzie's score. I'll say 24-20 NC State.
Okay. All right, Lawton, what you got for us, my man?
Well, I don't give my official prediction until Friday on my show, so it's a little early in the week for me.
Okay.
I'm scared. I'm just kidding.
So, if your people want to, if your listeners want to find out, they can tune in on Friday.
There you go.
That was a nice little.
I think that I think that this is the kind of game that NC State would have to win to move into that, conversation maybe every year that, okay, this is going to be a football school.
Yep.
Right.
Sure.
Like they're borderline on that conversation right now. I would make the argument. They're a team that when Herb Street or Corso or anybody out there in college football is talking about college football being the sport, if you will, they're not quite there yet. Clemson gets that talk, Ohio State, Alabama, the schools that you hear about every week. Heck, Texas gets that talk, and they haven't done anything. But,
besides the point.
Yeah, but I think you win this game, right? And then all of a sudden, now you're probably top 7, top 8. You're undefeated. You're climbing. You probably have a chance to go undefeated into the ACC championship game. Then you're starting to get in those conversations. So this would be the catalyst to that. I think night game, Death Valley will be difficult. I would think Clemson's going to have enough offensively to win this game. I think if you bank on DJ being what he was a year ago, you got the wrong guy right now.
Yeah.
And so I would think Clemson wins it, but I agree. I think it'll be a tight ball game. I think it'll be one of those where whoever's got the ball is going, oh my goodness, we got, this has got to be we can't afford to punt here. We've got to make something happen. Yeah. And right. Exactly. And whoever, makes the most plays will win the game. And the fact that it's a night game in Death Valley, I like that for Clemson. I think, I think we can all agree that road games, I mean, that environment still means a lot in college football.
100%.
Yes, it does. Yeah, no. Well, because something we haven't even talked about either is the fact that, Clemson, just like you said, has had a couple of players out that, they're looking to have back this week for sure. Now, again, I mean, in terms of how much of a, of a change that makes, is to be foreseen for sure. I mean, there's no way to necessarily predict that just because of the fact that, obviously injuries, some do better with, some do not so better with. So, it'll be interesting thing to see, how these Clemson players kind of, if they do come back, what they do with it kind of deal. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, kind of the keys are really, obviously last year we had a guy like, Emeka Mezi that, is up there, one of the best wide receivers that NC State has had. He was just a guy that, was Devin Leary's right-hand man. At the end of the day, if Devin Leary didn't know where to throw the ball, he was going to throw it to Emeka, and Emeka was going to make a play for him. And this year, we have a guy, obviously Thayer Thomas is a guy that, has been very consistent, but a guy like Devin Carter even is a guy that, we all foresee that has the talent. Obviously made the big play to, catch a touchdown to eventually beat Clemson last year. He has the talent to do it, but, can he take that step forward and be that elite wide receiver one that we need? If we're going to beat Clemson, we need guys to get separation, especially with the defensive line that Clemson has. We can't be sitting you can't have Devin Leary sitting in the pocket for 5-6 seconds, because he's not going to last 5-6 seconds. Eventually Clemson's going to get to him. So you got to get rid of that ball. And also too, because again, you just got to make it easy, easier, as easy for Devin Leary as you can. And just give him an opportunity, give him a little bit of separation. And he's a good enough quarterback that if you give him a little bit of separation, he'll get it to you. So for me, I think the biggest kind of X factor is, can the wide receivers step up in a big situation and help Devin Leary to be successful? Now, I mean, obviously from a run game perspective, I completely agree with Michael, because at the end of the day, if we are one dimensional, eventually Clemson's going to figure out a way to stop it. But if we can run the ball at least effectively to a point, that way Clemson has to respect the run game to a point, then that's all in our favor, for sure. So for me, I see this again being a super emotional game. I think it's a game where both teams leave everything out there. I know we've said it the whole time. I'm thinking around again, it's kind of funny. I see this as being also too probably like around a 28-24, something like that range, where Clemson has the ball late, has to go down and score, to win the game. I know it may all sound like, we're just copying each other, but that's how I really do see it. It's two great elite defenses with offenses that are very, very solid. And just like you were saying, it has been a great offense overall for Clemson. And overall, I mean, for NC State, there's a lot of questions there. Now, I mean, if Devin Leary steps up and plays as well as we expect him to, it can definitely be a high school game. And if DJ does what he did against Wake Forest and he's productive, then yeah, it can be a definitely higher scoring game for sure. But just, that's a huge question mark. So to me, I'm always going to lean more on the side of that Leary is going to have to, work his way through the game, rather than him, being able to just go in there and throw 350 yards on Clemson. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my, kind of thoughts of the game. But again, just like you said, it's a huge asterisk there. Whatever happens with this weather, I really hope it stays away so we can enjoy a great football game. So, but Lawton, again, I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And again, it was great getting some insight. I'm sitting here again, this is Sunday night, and I'm thinking to myself, God, I have to wait 6 more days for this game. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep at night. This is going to be a crazy game. And I'm super excited. I'm nervous. It's awesome, but I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much again for your time, Lawton. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Y'all have a safe trip to Clemson, and definitely hope to run into you while we're there.
Absolutely. Again, if you wouldn't mind, Lawton, as well, kind of help our fans as well, kind of give a plug again on where they can check out the Clemson Sports side, and so that way they can, maybe once and for all hear your prediction on the score predictions.
Yeah, we're on iHeartRadio. It's Fox Sports Radio 1400 every day during drive time, so 4 to 6. So you can stream it on your Amazon Echo, Google Home, or on your phone. Cool. And then the website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. And we've got all our content there. I put the Radio Rewind up every day. That's the podcast. And then, of course, I don't think anybody's going to subscribe in their favorite podcast app to my show. But, hey, you know what, Wolfpack fans, if you just need to root for another team, come on board. But no, and then interact with the sport. Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the last one, but yeah.
Come hear me talk about Will Shipley.
There you go.
No, again, it sounds great. Well, again, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, obviously a huge game here, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night on ABC. So again, there's no way you cannot see the game. It's on national TV. You can't miss it. You don't have to go to ESPN3, or you don't have to be subscribed to ESPN Plus. Just turn on your TV and it'll probably be right there, right in front of you. So make sure you just enjoy it. Again, it should be a great game no matter what, and definitely looking forward to this huge opportunity that NC State will have here on Saturday night. But once again, if you haven't already, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that way you're notified whenever we release any new NC State content. And also hit that like button. If you think NC State's going to win, hit that like button, baby. And also give us a follow, Tuffy Talking Now on Twitter and Instagram. But thank you all so much for your time. We will see you all soon. As always, go Pack, baby.